I think the real thing that's going on and people are very worried about at the moment is the winter fuel payment.
Sure, OK.
Right.
So let's just recap what's happening. Until this year, everybody who was of state pension age, or every household that had somebody of state pension age in it, got a winter fuel payment. Now, that is £200 for people where the oldest person is under 80 and £300 if the oldest person is over 80. This year coming, that has now effectively been means tested. So there are 10 million pensioner households who won't get it, who were getting it previously. Now, I'm not particularly opposed to the fact that it's not universal. I mean, the Alan Sugars of this world don't need it, and many people who were very wealthy were giving it away. My issue with it really is I think the means testing is too narrow and is ineffective. And I'm going to explain why, and we're going to try, while I explain why, I'm going to try and do some good and make sure that people who are eligible for it try and get it.
Great.
So what they've done is they've said that the only people who claim, which is the operative word, claim pension credit will get the winter fuel payment. Now, pension credit is not really a good name. I would actually call it the state pension top-up. So really, it's for people who don't get the full state pension. They are eligible for a top-up to get something close to the full state pension. And if there are any low-income pensioners out there watching, or you know of somebody who's a low-income pensioner, I don't care if you're 18, we collectively need to go out there and make sure all pensioners on low income are checking if they're due pension credit. Now, this is my rule of thumb, and it is a rule of thumb, and it's complicated because things like this are never easy.
It's so complicated.
If you're a single pensioner and your total income is under £218 a week, so that's your state pension, any private pension, if you've got savings of over £10,000, some of the interest on that is taken into account. If it's under £218 a week, you're likely to get pension credit.
OK.
If it's under £235 a week, there's a chance you'll get pension credit, so you should still check. If you're a pensioner couple, that means a couple both of state pension age. If your income is under total £333 a week together, you're likely to get it. If it's under £350 a week, there's a chance you would get it, so I would still check. To check, you can go online or you can call the pension credit hotline. There is nothing wrong with checking and finding out you're not eligible. Do not do it because you're scared you'll be told no. That isn't a problem. It's perfectly fine. Now, this is the issue. There are 1.2 million pensioners claiming pension credit. There are thought to be over 800,000 eligible pensioners on low income who should be claiming pension credit who aren't.
800,000?
800,000.
Wow.
So they are, by definition, the poorest in society. With incomes under around £11,400 on average. The government thinks they should be getting a winter fuel payment, but because they're not claiming pension credit, which, by the way, is worth an average of £3,900 a year, it's big money in its own right, never mind the winter fuel payment, they won't get it. And so I have two frustrations with this policy. One, I think the means testing of saying basically you have to earn the £11,400 is too narrow. People on 15 grand a year, pensions on 15 grand a year need the winter fuel payment as well, but they won't get it. But my biggest problem, and I went in to meet Rachel Reeves last week and I pushed this very hard. I can't really talk. It was a private meeting, but I can't talk. I am going to be looking at the pension credit form to see if we can try and improve it, make it easy to apply. My biggest problem is even the people the government says should get the winter fuel payment because of inertia, fear, pride, onset dementia, because of the difficulty of claiming pension credit. 800,000 of the poorest people in our country, the poorest old people who should be getting winter fuel payment, won't get it because they don't claim. You can change that. Whatever age you are, if you know a low-income pensioner, we all collectively as a community have a responsibility to try and make sure they get what they're due. So it's just a polite, you don't force, it's just a polite word. And by the way, have you heard about that winter fuel payment, that pension credit? Have you checked whether you're eligible? If you think they're on a low income,
or let's do it together as well.
Let me help you. The form is really not good.
It's complicated,
but there is a pension credit helpline. There's age concern out there. There's charities that will help. So that is the big picture that's going on. Now, let me just do some maths for you. Don't worry, it'll be easy. I won't ask you to do it. If we look at winter fuel payment and what pensioners are getting this winter, this is why it's so important. There are three factors you have to take into account to compare it to last winter. Energy bills this winter will be lower than last winter. While they're going up in 2 weeks, that last winter was one of those, you know, annus horribilis for energy. It was an absolute energy crisis. So if you look at a typical household bill from October to March, you will pay £100 less over that period than you did last winter. So that's £100 in the kitty.
Good.
Last winter, though, and the winter before, pensioner households got a cost of living payment that was up to £300. And no household's getting that. So that's £100 up.
So we're still £200.
You're now £200 down.
Yeah.
Then you've got the winter fuel payment of £200 to £300. Even households who get it are still £200 down. If we look at energy alone, those who don't get it are up to £500 down. This is going to be a very difficult winter. Now, lots of people say to me, well, I'm just above the threshold, what do I do? You know, I was working with Sally, my great researcher, yesterday, and we were just trying to find everything. And the problem is, most of the things I can suggest, check whether you're entitled to help on your council tax. It's separate from universal credit. Everybody should be doing that. Basically, you have to be on the income where you get the pension credit to do it. The warm home discount, you have to be on the income. You have to be on pension credit to get the warm. Most of the help available is linked to pension credit. So the people who are just above the pension credit threshold, there's very little. There are a couple of things I will suggest. There's a thing called the Household Support Fund. The Household Support Fund, which is available from local councils if you are struggling. So that's not, oh, it's going to be a bit difficult. That's, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills. Contact your local council, speak to them about other help too.
But then what do you do? Do you have to prove that, or how do you do it?
They will ask you questions and you will go through it, but there is a pot of just over 400 million available at local councils to be able to give out to... That sounds a lot. It's not when you spread it across... But there's 400 million available to local councils on the Household Support Fund for people struggling. You don't have to be on benefits to apply to that, so anyone can look at that. Speak to your energy company. Tell your energy company if you're struggling. Some of them have their own grant systems and can give help. It's also very important to anybody who has a vulnerability, whether it's mental or physical health, that would be a real problem if you stop being able to put the heat on. You ask to be put on your energy company. So I'm looking to camera because I want people to understand it. Priority Services Register. You want to be on the Priority Services Register if you have a legitimate vulnerability that means you need to be treated specifically. So local council, an energy firm, and of course you can go and look at the charities for help. But if you're above the pension credit threshold, it will be tough. Final thing on pension credit. I got a lovely email from somebody yesterday who said, we checked a couple of years ago, I wasn't on it, and I read your info that says, check again, because the thresholds have changed slightly. And my mum is now getting pension credit. We're going to get the winter fuel payment. It means she's entitled to a free TV licence because she's over 75. She's going to get council tax help, and she's going to get help with a dentist, and she's going to get help with her optical bills.
It's your superpower.
Yeah, it's a money fairy. It's a fairy godmother.
No, the pension credit is a superpower. It is a superpower. Once you get it, it opens the door to everything else. So if you are a low-income pensioner and you're out there and you're thinking it's not me, just go and check. Do me a favour, check. Look, if you've got £20,000, £30,000 worth of income and huge savings, you're not going to get it. But if you're below, you know, if you're on a lower income and you're struggling, it's just worth 10 minutes to check. It's worth it.
Martin, I saw you being interviewed about the Rachel Reeves chat that you had. Do you think, and you said you felt heard and she felt heard as well, do you think there will be changes?
I'm still hopeful that there may be some mitigation. I'm using that phrase, mitigation to the winter fuel payment in the budget. I'd say it's, on the balance of probability there won't be, but I'm hopeful there's a chance there will be. I think certainly they are going to look at investing to try and get more people to claim pension credit. But I was quite blunt, and I can only say what I said to her if I've said it elsewhere, and I have said it elsewhere. I think if they got it down to only 700,000 people missing out, that would be an achievement.
Right.
Significant it's going to be quite tough to click that wall. I mean, I think, you know, when I was in with Rachel Reeves, it wasn't just on this. I talked about lifetime ISAs, I talked about carers allowance, I talked about child benefit, higher income tax charge and many other things. And look, she was absolutely listening. She's a very bright woman, as are most chancellors I've ever met, to be honest. So was Jeremy Hunt, so was Rishi Sunak. And she was listening. They are very strong. You've all heard it on... You know, there's a big black hole in the nation's finance and we have to be good custodians, so there is a balance there. I think it's going to be very tough. I targeted my suggestions to things that wouldn't cost the government much money, because that's where I think I've got the greatest chance of getting them.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.